This is the Death Valley National Park Visitor Center on 6 May 2022. And this is what it's like on 6 May 2022. So let's get in the visitor center, for nothing else, to get a respite from the heat.
Hello, my friend.
Hi, how are you?
I think it's
This is how we do it. Maddie, down here,
right like the first place we stopped.
and down, and this is how we're doing it. And it has to be this way or this way.
You probably go this
To
way.
your left.
Because otherwise we'd have to go
So let's see what it looks like inside here. Well, at least it's cool. And fee and pass sales.
Okay.
This is the topographic mock-up of Death Valley. Let's see, where's Telescope Peak? Right there. And oh, Wild Rose is
No,
there.
that's Mosaic Cap. Right here.
Where's that?
So it's all about rows, how these castles make rows. It's for sale.
I don't think on the way right now, it's just to talk out
Okay.
big tourist
I'm gonna go to the house.
And let's see. The racetrack is over there.
Oh, I'm here. Emily.
And Titus Canyon over there. See, where's that racetrack then? So it looks like you have to go around here, past the Ubehebe crater, and then on through there, through that long washboard. And Ubehebe is over there. Scottish Castle is there, but it's closed. We went to the sand dunes over here. And let's see. Salt Creek is there. We passed that. And then the Borax Works we passed. And Zabriskie Point is there. And let's see, Badwater Basin. Where's that thing? Badwater Basin. Oh, I guess it's down there in the salt fixtures there. So looks like this is like they have a movie theater. might take up on that. Auditorium and books and Death Valley. And we had here
Okay, thank you. Get out of the sun immediately, drink plenty of water, have some sports drinks, improve yourself down that extremes of climate extraordinary landscape introduce extreme hazards. Be prepared when you visit the hottest, driest place in North America.
The gold mine. This mine was active for about 10 years and then quite inactive.
Solar radiation is absorbed by the rocks in the soil and then is radiated back. Moisture in the clouds pools and condenses and falls as rain and snow on the western side of those mountains. When the storms descend on the east side, fire, rain shower. The Sierra Nevada, the highest mountains in Canada, are frequently impressive. Their rain shadow at the beginning of the month.
some bighorn sheep.
Good afternoon, Death Valley visitors, and welcome to the Furnace Creek Visitor Center. Our partner, Seeing Death Valley, will begin in just about 5 minutes. This 18-minute film is a great way to learn about political history and geology. Another reference to Seeing Death Valley speaking. The auditorium is located on the west side of the building through the star. Thank you for supporting your national parks and enjoy the show.
A lot of people, they say when they come here, this feeling comes over them of being taken care of, or that their body and their soul are being healed. We prefer to call it Timbisha rather than Death Valley, because to us, our home is alive. It's not dead.
Death Valley is a place of contradiction and surprise. The driest desert in North America, but one with many springs and its own native fishes. It is one of the hottest places in the world. And yet, snow covers the heights of the park for months every year. Death Valley is a geological cabinet of wonder that stretches back for hundreds of millions of years, but is still a dynamically changing landscape today. The valley has been the homeland of the Timbisha Shoshone since ancient times.
Our people stayed here. Our people maintain our connection to the land, to our home. Because a lot of people ask, well, how come you live down there? You know, it's so hot. It's home.
The heat and dryness of Death Valley have their roots in the geology of this place. 3 million years ago, the Earth's crust ripped at the site of Death Valley, where 2 enormous fault blocks began to pull apart. The western block tilted and slipped downwards against the neighboring Black Mountains to the east, as the Panamint Range rose upwards to the west. The trough that was created between the ranges slowly filled with sand, gravel, and salts that were washed down every canyon and in by the Amagosa River, creating a flat valley floor. Today, the Panamints tower up to the west, 11,000 feet above the salt flats. They are the last in a series of mountain ranges that block oceanic rain clouds from reaching Death Valley. The valley floor at Badwater is the lowest place in North America, over 280 feet below sea level. In a wet winter, this playa holds a shallow lake that dries in spring to create a pure salt landscape. It is this unique combination of low elevation and dryness that makes Death Valley the hottest place in the United States, and one of the hottest on Earth. The devastating summer heat can be life-threatening, and the plants and creatures that live here must contend with its unrelenting force. Mesquite trees survive by finding water at incredible depths, sometimes 150 feet below the surface. Desert flowers tap winter rains to bloom in the gentler climate of spring, dropping new seeds in advance of the summer heat. The kangaroo rat hides from the sun's glare, only leaving its burrow in the relative cool of the desert night. In this harsh desert, host species found nowhere else on Earth. Thousands of pupfish, none much more than an inch long, thrive in the brackish shallow waters of Salt Creek. The Panamint daisy occurs only on the western slopes of the Panamint. Death Valley National Park is the only home for over 30 of these unique endemic species. These highly adapted species still face the challenge of a constantly evolving climate. The dry valley floor was once the bed of a vast lake several hundred feet deep. A warming world dried out that lake. And today, climate change may be pushing many plants and animals to the very edge of survival in the park. Those that cannot adapt to a fast-changing climate could disappear from the valley. This land certainly seemed barren and harsh to the European Americans who found their way here. Indeed, it was some of the first of these migrants mired here as they tried to make their way west to fabled goldfields, who gave the valley its current name. But many more were tempted to stay and seek their riches underground. From the 1870s on, there was a series of mining rushes for silver, gold, lead, and copper. While many chased dreams of a lucky strike, the most successful mining operations were extracting borax. Borax was first scraped from the valley floor and hauled by 20 mule teams, but was soon mined underground and delivered by railroad. For a few decades, Death Valley echoed with the raucous cacophony of frontier life. Towns were born, boomed, and died within the space of a decade. In the frantic years between, they spawned saloons, hotels, banks, and opera houses. Fortunes were made and lost in months or even weeks, as often in speculation as in actual mining. The remnants of those dreams of wealth can still be seen in Death Valley. Today, the very rocks the miners dug through, the base layers of the landscape, provide a different kind of treasure. Those who explore Death Valley today can discover a landscape that is still in motion. Canyons have been scoured by debris-laden flash floods over millennia. Those floods wash rock and gravel from the mountain slopes above, down to vast alluvial fans have spread out towards the valley floor. Tiny grains of sand are swept by prevailing winds to form massive sand dunes. In Death Valley, water, wind, and evaporation combine to decorate the Earth's skin with beautiful patterns and a myriad of shapes and scales. In geological time, this is still a very active place. The giant chasm of Yuba Crater was created in an explosion of magma-fired steam just a few hundred years ago. And there are forces at play here that we still do not fully understand. At the racetrack, large rocks move across the bed of the playa, leaving clear tracks of their path, but little clue as to what forces drive them forward. The richness of Death Valley's rocks, both real and fabled, attracted many remarkable people, but none more so than Walter Scott. A former member of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, he became Death Valley Scotty, the consummate showman of Death Valley, a con artist who would mine Eastern investors for thousands of dollars with tales of spectacular discoveries. One of those Easterners, millionaire Albert Johnson, came to Death Valley to inspect his mine in person. Though he quickly realized that Scotty was a fraud, he fell in love with Death Valley, and he forgave the con man who brought him there. Albert and his wife Bessie would go on to build Scotty's Castle, a Spanish villa in the desert. It was a project as grand and unlikely as his ongoing friendship with Scotty, who was allowed to live on the Johnsons' property. In the 1920s and 30s, as word of Scotty's Castle was spreading, the Pacific Coast Borax Company decided to market the scenic side of Death Valley, and they used their railroads to ship tourists into the valley. The way the valley was seen changed again, as it was made more accessible and somewhat tame by the automobile. What was once the most forbidding place in America, the furnace of the world, became diabolical divine Death Valley, the most romantic desert in America. Early tourists came to enjoy the warm winters and to visit Scotty's Castle and meet the legendary Scotty for themselves. Death Valley was entrusted to the care of the National Park Service in 1933. As tourists arrived in ever greater numbers, they encountered the people who had always been here, the Timbisha Shoshone. The Timbisha's name for themselves and the valley comes from a reddish rock that can be seen near Golden Canyon.
You don't have culture unless you have your land with you, because you are a part of that land. That land is a part of you. We've been here all these years, generations after generations, and we will, continue on. This is where we're from, and this is where we're staying. Today we have that status of a reservation people. That's the terminology that they use for people that they forced to live on, the parcels of land that they chose for them, but we're not really reservation people. We're still on the lands that is a part of us. And we're here to protect our lands because it was meant to be that way. I've had some people say that when they look down here onto the valley floor, they feel like they're interfering. And they ask me if I feel that way. I says, if I wasn't connecting, I will ask to be acknowledged, and we will speak out to the higher spirit, the Creator, to be accepted. People don't realize when they say that, I believe in protecting the land, actually is part of that spirituality. To protect the land, not only just as a commodity, but as something else that some people can't describe. And this is what we ask of you, that you should do the same, to protect the land and come here with some goodness.
The park today is a vast reservoir of open space. Over 3 million acres is designated as wilderness. Land that is largely unmarked by human presence, and land that can never be developed. This is our wildest and most protected kind of public land. Even the world after sunset is still preserved here. This is one of the last places where the night sky can be seen as clearly as it was when immigrants first came to the West. Many see Death Valley now not as a desert oven, nor as a place of death. For those who seek them, Death Valley is a place to experience wildness and an open landscape that one can explore at will. Great personal riches can still be found here in taking the time to discover this place. A harsh land whose enduring beauty is preserved for all to see.